First of all, you don't know me.
We're all about that high school drama girl, all about them high school queens. We'll take you for a ride in our comic girl,
Drama girl,
cheering for the right team.
Drama queens, drama queens.
Smart girl, rough girl, fashion but you're tough girl. You could sit with us, girl. Drama queens, drama queens, drama queens. Drama queens, drama queens.
All right, gang, let's get into it. Season 8, Episode 18, Quiet Little Voices. Air date April 19th, 2011. Synopsis reads, the big day has finally arrived and the gang gathers at the hospital to await the birth of Haley and Nathan's baby. While they wait, they reminisce about the memories they shared over the years. Boy, do they. And it was directed by Mr. Sex Pylon himself, Austin Nichols.
I did not realize he directed this episode.
By the way, I didn't either. I completely forgot.
And I was watching it thinking, who directed this? This is lovely.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
He did such a great job.
Oh my gosh. There's so much to talk about with this episode. I know that you're feeling a little like you weren't given enough material, Rob, because it was like a 3-day shoot for the entire episode. We had no material, no new material. It was very little. And the rest of it was flashbacks. But I actually I think the fans probably loved this episode because this was obviously before streaming. And so a chance to be able to revisit all of these meaningful moments. And I thought they were really expertly woven into the story. And I loved it. It made me really happy to watch all those old moments.
I loved it too. And the irony is, well, two things. I thought it was really well done. I think Austin did such a great job truly weaving this moment where we're all sort of frozen in time in the hospital with these stories that make these characters who they are. I think the device of having Jamie asking all these questions is great. And it dawned on me when we first got on our Zoom and you were like, well, the 16 minutes of material in this episode from Rob, I went, oh my God. It was, I'm telling you, 2 minutes before the episode ended, by myself in my apartment, I went, Puerto Rico. I just like yelled it like Mad Libs because I realized we needed so many extra days to go and shoot that episode.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yes. And Joy, you had just had your actual baby.
Yes. So I was on my maternity leave.
And essentially they had to save days so the budget from this episode could both give you time off and then the extra days could go on the Puerto Rico episode to get everybody down there to shoot that travel extravaganza. And I couldn't figure it out, and then I did. And then I did. I feel that I've solved a puzzle that matters to no one, but it mattered to me.
Yeah, and to what Joy was saying earlier was I wasn't upset about the amount of material Clay had in the episode. I was joking before we started the podcast saying we have 14 and a half minutes of actual new content to discuss.
Oh, yes. Sorry, I didn't mean to imply that you seemed unhappy with your own amount of work. That was not, I knew what you meant, but yes, thank you for clarifying for our listeners. Sorry.
I will say, so a couple things. One, for our fans that who aren't in the biz, a bottle episode is it's sort of an episode that you have to catch up on the budget, to save some money because you've maybe overspent or maybe you have a big expenditure coming up. So typically it'll be like a limited amount of the cast or all the cast, but in like one location. So it's very easy to shoot. You can shoot it quick. This is the MVP of bottle episodes. I have never seen one done better because not only is all of the cast in one location, but genuinely 40 to 50% of the content of the episode is flashbacks. I was watching this just going, this is freaking genius.
Genius. Yeah, and it managed to be good. It didn't feel like it was hodgepodge together.
Yes.
Because they had to. It actually felt really organic to the episode, to me.
Yeah. And I got to say, as someone who is not familiar with the earlier seasons, I freaking loved it. Because the first time I cut to a scene of Nathan and Haley, I was like, oh my God, how did they make James look so young? And I realized, oh my gosh, no, this is actually just baby James and baby Joy. Like, was that your guys' first kiss? That I dare you to move?
Yes, it was.
It was, dude, you were so good in that scene, Joy. My main takeaway was for the age you were at and what we were doing, I just thought like you were so steady and like grounded in yourself and you were doing almost nothing while doing so much. But I remember just thinking like, wow, at that age, Joy was really crushing it.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I have a hard time watching myself, particularly at that age, and I notice all of the things about myself that I don't like or didn't like, and it's hard for me to just get past it and like watch the scene and appreciate that. So I take that to heart. Thank you. Yeah, it was fun to shoot all that stuff, but really fun to watch James for me in particular, because he's with where he's grown, how he grew on the show as an actor, as a human, and as a character. Watching all that play out, he was sort of the secret star of the episode for me. Just to see that journey. Even I loved that they showed the super vulnerable moment that he had with her in her bedroom, coming in after the game and just saying like, "I need you. I just need a hug. I need your comfort." That was so rich for a high schooler to do that, high school boy, and for a young couple to understand each other on that level. It was just really such a nice reminder of where they've come from.
Yeah, and it's especially nice to see that growth. And I like that it's as impactful for us who essentially, like the viewers, have seen all of it. And Rob, you're like a newer viewer in a way. Yeah. You got to see things you didn't know. And when you think about it in the story arc, in terms of all of us really thinking that when we wrapped season 8, we would be wrapping the show.
Yeah.
It's such a great device to remind you of how far these characters have come. I think particularly the flashback devices with Nathan, because James was actually so young. Not only has his character come so far, but James just as a man looks so different in season 8 than he did in season 1. And so in a really interesting way, like the evolution of his character, but also him growing out of that teenage boy youth really marks time for us as viewers in the flashback. In a way, like, look, I thought all the rest of ours were great. I love being reminded of the moment with Haley and Quinn. I love going back to naming you Brooke. Like, all of it is so sweet to see. But I think it becomes doubly effective as a device in a way, just because of where we found ourselves in the trajectory of James's life.
Yeah.
It's really cool. And to see him then be this very still father figure who's not doing a lot, who's just reflecting and sort of explaining that to a child, it's really special. And it does give you that sort of, I don't know, it has like a nostalgia that made me feel ready for the end, even though we wound up getting this bonus of our 9th season.
Well, it connects the audience by reminding them of everything they've been through with the characters without them having to think too hard about it. Just it creates the same moment as looking through a scrapbook and seeing, pictures of old friends. And it doesn't take a lot. You don't have to relive through all of the moments that you had. You just need these snapshot moments. And then you look up at the person in front of you, seeing how they've aged and grown. And it immediately endears you, and you feel the sense of loyalty. Like, I think it was so smart because it created such a bonding experience for the audience subconsciously, I think.
And it was so funny to that point that we're seeing all of these flashbacks where it's like baby Brooke, baby Haley, baby Nathan. And then we have a flashback with Haley and Quinn, and it's like Quinn from 6 months ago.
And yet there was still a hair parade. Like all the different colors, all the different cuts, all the different everything. Like the fact that Quinn was a brunette when she started on the show, and it was only 6 months prior or whatever, a year or so, and how much that's changed. It still kept the nostalgia going.
Yeah,
but the James of it all was awesome, because you really do see how much he grew as an individual and alongside the character of Nathan.
Yeah,
that was great. And like I said, it was fun for me because it was all stuff I had never seen. So it was like, wait, that's how Haley and Brooke met? Wait, what? It made me very interested to like, I got to go back and see where this all started.
Yeah. It's so sweet.
I loved seeing so much of this through Jamie's eyes too. And just that was a nice kind of mirror effect, that you are watching all these old memories, but you're also seeing everything through the new young perspective coming into the world. All of his narration was really sweet and funny.
Yeah.
And it was sweet that the episode was bookended by Haley then giving the same voiceover about, babies are God's way of saying he's not given up on us yet, or something to that effect.
Yeah, it was sweet.
Nice sentiment. I love that we got to see the myth of the nursery room viewing window, as well as, are we like in the 1800s with the delivery room that has stadium seating above it with a window?
It's so weird.
It's the weirdest.
Same. By the way, it's the same window when Peyton drops after the Peyton and Lucas wedding, and then all of us appear like ghosts out of mist. Right. There's just more and more of us up in that viewing room, and it's like, this is not allowed.
Window.
It is simply not allowed. It is not allowed for civilians to be in there. There might be an operating theater at a teaching hospital, but let me tell you something. When my very best friend on earth had to have emergency knee surgery, and I tried to convince the surgeons at NYU Hospital to let me scrub in and observe, and they said, "Ma'am, go sit down." And I said, "Then let me sit in an operating theater. There has to be an operating room with a theater here. This is a teaching hospital." They were like, "Ma'am, get out. Just get out. Like, we are going to remove you." Nia woke up from surgery and was like, "You crazy bitch," because I was sleeping in a chair next to her bed. And the nurse was like, "We tried to make her leave. Eventually we gave up." And I am telling you, from personal experience, I know that there is no human they are going to let observe a surgery, a delivery, no matter what medical terminology you know from at one point or another, playing a doctor, they don't care.
And a surgery would be the most likely of all of them. A delivery?
Yeah.
Are you fucking kidding me? No.
Like, it's not going to happen.
In a room that's covered in tile, by the way. When have you ever given birth in a room that's covered in tile?
By the way, it looks like we're at the morgue. It looks like 10 years ago we built a set for a morgue, and they were like, "It'll just be cheaper to reuse that." It's so creepy.
Also so weird that the dad comes in. He's like, "Oh, I'm the baby's father," and never goes, "Who are you guys?"
Yeah. Also, the fact that means that literally just anyone could just happen to stroll in and watch someone give birth.
Yes, because by the way, Chloe is supposed to not know he's there because she thinks she's been abandoned.
Oh, right.
The whole thing is that he doesn't know she's having a baby. She took a year abroad, I think she said. I was like,
that's
wait,
what she told her parents, I think.
Yeah, that's what she told her parents.
That's right. So she has this whole concocted story, keeping this a secret. And then he shows up unbeknownst to her, but hangs out with Julian all night. Like, what? I mean, hats off to that actor and hats off to Austin because they made it work. They took this insane scenario off the page and they made it really heartfelt. And I thought that young man did such a good job playing so lost and so unsure of what he was doing and so overwhelmed. And I liked getting to see, in the same way that you see Brooke be maternal with Chloe, helping her through this, I liked getting to see Julian do that, even for this person that he thought was a stranger in the hallway. It's a very sweet moment for them, and it made the surprise quite a reveal.
Yeah.
But my God, it is so hard for me to get past the shenanigans of the theater and enjoy the episode because I'm like, this is so silly. Kind of takes me out of it a little bit.
That was a rough one.
I actually wonder for our friends at home, I really am curious. I wish we could take callers on this show because I'd love to know if it just drives us crazy as actors who are very used to, sets and what feels like jumping the shark, or is the audience also like, no, this is absolutely ridiculous. We feel the same way. So if anyone wants to write in, I would love to know.
Comment on this, gang, because you don't have to be in entertainment to go, that doesn't exist in hospitals.
Right?
Like, it's not inside baseball. That's just anyone who's ever been in a hospital is like, what? Also, no other show is even doing that because, again, it doesn't exist.
It's not real.
It's the strangest thing. But speaking of really good performances, and just to jump ahead a bit, Levin has this incredible moment when Brooke and Julian walk into the room and the baby's born. there is the moment where you can tell everything has changed for her. And she wordlessly, just with her eyes, you can see her say like, I'm sorry, no, it's not happening. Everything's changed.
And you see it in your eyes, Sophia, like the shift that you received that.
Yes, it was such a powerful moment. The storytelling happening between Chloe and Brooke was
and then Julian
so
realizing it too and turning to Brooke. I mean, that moment, I don't cry a lot watching our show because I just feel kind of removed from it. But it's also so familiar that I know a lot of it already. And I cried. I just sat there and was like, my heart broke. That was rough.
Yeah, it's heavy.
And you guys, your performances were so beautiful.
Yeah.
That's what made me so happy about Austin as a director, that I was like, who directed this? Who allowed the actors to sit there and do their work quietly? God bless whoever allowed the actors to do this, because it's not common on our show.
And then it was just so sad and painful. And it was such a great shot where it was like, it was sort of over everyone waiting for the news about Haley. To in the background, Brooke and Julian, who were obviously super upset. And then you guys having to pull it together and then walk over with the secret, which is like, you are crying because your heart is broken, not because of this great
you
news.
did that so well, Sophia. Oh my gosh. I was just
you killed it.
Aching. Oh, so hard.
It's so devastating. And it's really interesting because I remember how impactful it felt for all of us at the time, you know, particularly just existing in a world where you read about people's stories, you know what people go through, you know, trying to build their families and all of these things. And it's crazy how well I think it played. And I remember it feeling special then. And now, like, just by nature of living longer, you know, by nature of all of us being in this phase of our lives, it's like it's even heavier to me. And it's just, there's elements of it that, you know, the overarching story that I think we probably could have done a bit better with. You know, some of it feels a little talking pointy. But my God, I was like, woof, this hits me even harder now. Just all the things we've seen.
I'm just so glad it wasn't talked to death. There wasn't a ton of explanation. It wasn't whole, like, it just wasn't overdone. The simplicity of a broken heart doesn't require a ton of explanation. Everybody knows what that feels like. And you just need to see the exchange between the artists sharing emotion.
And I think too, you know, to your point about the way it was directed, us being allowed to be in it, and instead of, you know, doing the fast push in or whatever, everything just crept up on you. You know, the camera moved in slowly and you start to wonder, is it slow motion or is it what's really happening? And it's just what's really happening, but everyone is having it hit them in that way where it feels like time slows down.
Yeah. But it wasn't just that moment. It was the whole episode, like the whole storyline, I should say, in particular, because Austin was great about giving the appropriate tone per scene, depending on the storyline. But for you guys, when Levin is in the bed and she keeps saying, I just couldn't do it alone. I couldn't do it alone. He lingers on you just a little too long, and it gives the audience the information they need. Like, that is kind of an interesting thing to say. Is that the only reason you're going to give up your child, because you're afraid you can't handle it on your own? And then you start wondering, is Brooke going to say, hey, if that's the only reason, like, you are strong, you are that. I don't know if that's really the reason that you should. Like, if there's a whole lifestyle, if there, you know, there's so many factors, but if it's just that you're afraid you can't handle it, it just puts Brooke in such an awkward position. And I feel like I could read all of it on your mind in that moment. And then we cut away to something else, but it was a foreshadowing that there's something else coming. Oh, heartbreaking.
I loved there was an earlier scene with Nathan and Haley. It's when Haley's going through contractions. and you're like, just tell me a story. And he's like, I'm blanking. And she's like, and you're like, just tell me any story in the history of the world.
He's like, the Three Little Pigs. I don't know why.
Yeah. It was so good, man.
It's great.
And then the other funny contraction moment that made me laugh was, and it listen, there's a lot of ways in which this could happen, but in the moment I went, okay, this was written by a dude. When Levin is on the bed and Brooke is there, and she's obviously having a contraction, but she goes, ooh, contraction. And I was like, you know what? Could you imagine, like, in a war movie, if someone gets shot and they fell down on the battlefield and they were like, gunshot wound.
Like, never.
It's like, again, I'm like, it doesn't take me out of the scene, but I laughed going like, I've been through 2 deliveries with my wife, and I never once heard her go, ooh, contraction. It's like, everyone knows why you can't breathe.
Everyone knows what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and isn't it ironic that we were allowed to allow so much? We were allowed to have so much of the communication in this episode be without words. And then literally the most obvious word is written as dialogue for an actor to perform.
Yeah.
Like,
have you ever, have you heard the story about Kevin Sorbo? He played Hercules. There's a clip. Everyone should do this. Do yourself a favor, everyone.
Oh, boy.
Go on YouTube and just search Hercules disappointed. So what happened was, apparently there was, in the script, there was a line he was supposed to deliver. And then they had, like they do often in scripts, in parentheses, a word to sort of, in case the actor doesn't know, like the tone of it. And the word was disappointed.
No.
Watch the clip, because old Kevin Sorbo,
no,
he's like, I don't recognize this world anymore. And he takes a dramatic pause and he just goes, disappointed.
No.
It stayed in the episode. This was like that, where it's like, they were like, we don't want her just to say oh and not no. So let's put in parentheses, it's a contraction. It was like that moment. Oh, contraction.
Oh my God, that's great. That's hilarious. You know he was screwing around. He had to have been.
And if he was, that's hilarious. And also, like, it's even more funny that the editor and the producers were like, let's just keep it in.
Leave it.
Yeah. He owes me money. Keep it in. There was a lot of fun in this episode. I saw the writers writing to Rob as opposed to Clay. When we get to the hospital, I'm like, I got snacks. I got this. I got comics or something. And then Jamie goes, "Oh, you got comics." And Clay goes,
"This is my favorite, Rob."
They're called graphic novels.
Yeah.
No, you said you said graphic novels, but you said it like you were so disappointed in him. That's what made it so great.
Because this was a struggle in my personal life, because I read a lot of comics and I had to be like, I read graphic novels, because at the time I was turning 30 and it felt just a little bit weird to say like, I like comics, you know?
Made you feel like you still had your headgear on?
Yes.
Just
yes. Like,
bit.
Exactly. It felt like a bit more of a grown up when I called them graphic novels, when, let's be honest, it's just a couple comics glued together.
It's still great.
I loved that. I loved just giving you some quips with Quinn too about Uno and the game of chance and all of your little banter. That was really fun. It felt so natural. I loved that. The Saltine stuff was so great. Every line you said was just nonstop spittle, like a mouthful of powder. So great.
Yes. Yeah.
That was fun. Yeah. I wonder how many people went to their cupboard and got saltines out after the episode and sat with their friends and tried to do this.
Well, this was one of the early challenges, because by now we were on social media. I don't think Instagram existed yet, or maybe it had just started. But remember, we just started to get on Twitter around 2010. Yep. And I remember it was the Saltine challenge was going around. And it's ironic that we couldn't say that in the episode, because then we would have had to pay, I don't know, whatever that company is, Nabisco or whatever, because Saltine is a brand. So you had to be like, do you know you can't eat 6 crackers in under a minute? Because it was the Saltine challenge.
That's so funny.
Oh, right. Crackers.
Also, fun fact, Soph, do you know that you are the person who signed me up for Twitter?
That tracks.
You were on it. I didn't know what it was. I was obviously on the show and you're like, oh yeah, you got to get in this thing. And you like actually helped me set up my account and then immediately like followed me and tweeted out like, Rob's on Twitter.
Rob's on Twitter.
And I got a jillion followers and was like, what the hell just happened? So you are the one who held my hand into the world of social media. So thank you. And also shame on you.
Well,
I think you were the first one on our show to have it. You were like right on top of that.
Well, first of all, Rob, you're welcome. And I'm sorry. Second, I was really, and here's the irony, right? Like there's nothing I like to watch more online than videos of people cooking. But I remember when Twitter first started, I was like, who gives a shit what anyone's eating for breakfast? Lame. Turns out me, I do. I give a shit in a major way. But at the time I was like, this feels so stupid. And then when Deepwater Horizon happened, and I, had been working with all these incredible climate lawyers and activists who were all based in the South. Like my friends in New Orleans were like, we went to Gulf Shores and they are not telling the truth about this disaster on the internet or on the news. And I was like, well, we have the internet, so maybe we should just do it. And Austin and I flew down there with all the people from Global Green and like essentially live streamed what was happening with like our friends, fishermen and all these amazing people down in Louisiana who were like, we need help here. This is an ecological disaster. And it's so crazy to me to realize like we had no idea what we were doing with social media. We just were like, well, this feels like a pretty good way to get information out that people can't censor. Hello? And now
it used to be fun. Remember?
It used to be just like a place. It wasn't necessarily a weaponized cesspool, but that's where the I'm sorry comes in, Rob. The you're welcome was when it was cute and fun and we could joke about snacks.
It started off as the Peach Pit and it quickly devolved into that underground fight club in Fight Club.
Yeah, now it's just the Hunger Games. Oy. But at the time, it was adorable. And I do recall how excited we were about some of those early challenges. And it made it into an episode, though, we had to lie about the said crackers.
Were did either of you ever accomplish this task? Like, is it accomplishable? It's not doable?
Apparently the issue is, I suppose you could cheat and like swig some water right before, but saltines are so dry that you run out of saliva. Like your mouth can't make it fast enough.
I say this all the time because people ask me like my favorite scene, and this is one of them. Yeah. Every single take, I went full tilt boogie. I was trying to do it. It wasn't a bit. When you see me spitting out crackers, that's because I had a mouthful of crackers. Like that was me really committing. And I take food challenges very seriously. And I did not even come close.
No.
It is so deceptively hard.
Wow. Yeah. But will it work, we think, with Ritz or like something else? Or really, wheat thins? It really has to be saltines,
a wheat thin
right?
for sure. A wheat thin, you're fine. Because a saltine is just, it's salt and a sponge,
air.
Basically. It just sucks up anything liquid or liquid adjacent immediately.
Yeah, because it's dry, especially because I think it's made to be that way for soup. A Triscuit now has a nice oil base. And you could probably get 6 Triscuits down.
Triscuits with all that wheat? No way.
I think much more likely than a saltine.
I feel like we need to try this.
Our next episode should just be us seeing how many snack foods we can eat 6 of
100%.
Under a minute.
Also, I actually think we should just do this at the next convention. Line everybody up at a table and see what happens. And it's like maybe every 2 hours we come back for another cracker and see which one's doable.
Oh my gosh, this is such a good idea. Are you listening, friends with benefits? This
Hello.
is your next activity, Ray. Get on it.
Let's go.
That scene was so much fun. The banter with Clay and Quinn was so much fun. I love that we've now got to see them be light and silly 2 episodes in a row. Mm-hmm. So I think, at least for me, that's when Clay and Quinn shine the most,
Yes, for sure. You finally just got to be happy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's nice to see the ease and the humor with you guys. And, you know, even just her running around the hospital snapping photos, it's like you remember that this is a joyous time. And it does feel like for you two, especially, kind of a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
Well, because we had like 2 episodes of sort of fun stuff, and then it was just right into like the muck and the mire for a season. Hey, what's the is there any backstory to why Nathan collapsed during the game?
Oh yeah, he was taking performance enhancing drugs in high school.
So Dan was lying when the doctor was asking him questions, and Dan was being all self-righteous.
He knew. I think Dan knew. Yeah, and he was like trying to get the doctor throw him off the trail because he didn't want that on his record.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, but I don't remember that moment of him like stroking Nathan's forehead with his knuckles before he woke up and just being all sweet and fatherly. And the look on James's face is so great. Like, why are you being so nice?
Yeah.
Creep. Oh.
It registered for me almost like him going, am I dreaming?
Yeah. What is this?
What is going on here? It was nice to see those shifts. I mean, Dan is Dan, but even to see him a bit out of character, to be reminded of when Victoria really shifts.
Yeah.
You know, I remember being so moved by watching that moment in season 6, but seeing it again, I couldn't help but think, wow, it's really rare that we see an adult admit to their adult child, I was wrong. This is the lesson that I've learned. I wish I'd learned it sooner. And it, I don't know, something about just seeing that in a flashback really hit me. I love that they gave that to Victoria.
Was that scene from season 6?
Mm-hmm.
Had to have been, right? Because it felt like that was Victoria changing, but I hadn't seen that, which means it had to have been, you know, and I know she wasn't anything like that seasons, whatever, 1 through 5 or whenever she came in.
Yeah, it's nearing the end of season 6 because she encourages Brooke to go after Julian. And then it's the end of the season when she goes to his set and, admits that that she does love him and that she's going to let herself.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of special to see the revelation again, even though we've seen it. It's been 2 years, you forget. And it was cool for that to kind of be a button. I liked that moment between them as Brooke is trying to imagine, what a different kind of parent she'll be, what she will do differently. Thought it was really effective.
Because they had so many scenes to choose from. I mean, there were a lot of scenes where Victoria had changed and was being more generous or kind and I really like that they did choose that one, and the flashback of the connection point between that and Brooke talking about exactly what you're saying, the kind of mother that she wants to be. Mm-hmm. It was kind of a perfect one for them to choose, I think. Yeah. There were a lot of those mirroring moments.
What was the incident? What happened to Haley that put her in the hospital when Nathan was so worried about her?
I got hit by a car because Nathan was he was on these performance enhancing drugs, and then he got involved with a bookie, and then
look at Rob's face.
Yeah, and then Rick Fox hit me with his car.
Mm-hmm. Stop it! No, come on, no freaking way.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Meaning to hit Nathan, but winds up hitting Haley, and she's pregnant.
That's right. I was pregnant.
And he wants to hit Nathan because Nathan didn't throw the Ravens game, and Rick Fox and his crew were betting on it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
So welcome to another storyline that would have had us landed on the soup. It probably did.
I'm sure it did.
So hold on. What were the side effects of these performance enhancing drugs? Because this is it made him cramp. It made him so dehydrated he passed out, which, what? Okay. And then
aggressive.
He was like a roid ragey type thing.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think it was it was like a, speedy, I don't know, like some kind of upper, right? That just made him unstoppable.
Okay. He found some old fen. That's a reference that 2% of our audience will understand. That was a diet drug that was very hot for a minute in the late 80s, early 90s. And then whoopsie doozles discovered it was killing people and they quickly took it off the market.
Yikes.
Oh, gosh.
Mm-hmm. Did I just bring the podcast to a screeching halt by referencing failed medication from the late 80s? Is that not why everyone tuned in today? My bad.
I'm also laughing because we are never short on things to talk about. And I'm looking at the clock and I'm like, we've talked about the entire episode. Same. Flashbacks. Like, what do we have?
I closed my notes app. I got nothing.
I have too.
Same. I'm like, we went through them all. It's the shortest amount of notes I've ever taken on an episode. And I don't know what to do.
Well, let's do our listener question because, maybe that'll stir some conversation. What do we got, Joy? Read it to us.
The listener question is we don't know who it's from, but hello to you. Haley tells Jamie he's not allowed to have a baby in high school, but what is something you did in your life that you wouldn't want your kids repeating? Oh, fun.
Oh.
Fun question, friend.
Quite a few things.
I super, super don't want my daughter to join a cult.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good luck following that answer, either of us.
There's just so many things.
That is truly one of the, if you can get over yourself, it's one of the joys of parenting. The opportunity to release the shame by continually talking about what an idiot you were and how you can prevent your child from how what you've learned and just being able to be honest with them about it instead of hiding it like previous generations used to do, just culturally, like hide all the things.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a real pleasure. And now I have to say.
Absolutely. And I also think there's something, I don't know if you guys feel this way, but I know I certainly do. I've really noticed it in my life in the last 2 years where, to your point, I'm not embarrassed by anything anymore.
Right?
I'm like, if anything, this is just pure comedic fodder. Like the insane things that have happened in our lives, you have to laugh. And then when you realize you just find your own past and your own embarrassing things, laundry lists, so funny, you're like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I would say suffering in silence and playing small. Because those two cost me a lot. A lot. Playing small cost me a lot emotionally and in terms of growth and figuring out who I actually was. And suffering in silence just brought a ton of pain and time that was consumed if I had known to ask for help and that it was okay to ask for help, I would have saved myself a lot of tough seasons.
Yeah.
I feel that too. Thank you for that.
I think a lot of people can relate to that.
And Rob, I think that's a big part of it too, right? Is like, if you really follow the trajectory of maybe some of the things we wouldn't wish on our kids, I think that's where they start very often, is when you suffer something in silence, when you're trying to be mature or sort of prove that you can handle it, or you feel a little ashamed to admit you need some help with something.
Yeah.
That's kind of how the train leaves the station. And then by the time you realize you want to get off, it's like speeding through the mountains. I don't know why suddenly I've turned this into like the Bucky scene in, the Marvel universe, but you know what I'm talking about. It's like, oh my God, I can't get off now.
Yeah.
And I think to teach our children or encourage even in ourselves at this stage, a quickness to be as honest as you need to be so that you can have more emotional resilience is really special.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so hard to do because it's not so easy because it's not always just about, I just have to feel my emotion. There's other people involved and you're trying to sometimes protect a relationship or the possibility of maybe it's me and I just haven't figured out what my problem is. And I'm subconsciously, I'm like, maybe I'm blaming the other person, but it's actually my problem. And I want to solve that before I go complain about this person to somebody else. And I certainly don't want to start triangulating things. And so I'm just going to like keep everything to myself until I figure it out on my own. And it's just not how we're wired. We're wired for community.
Yeah. And I think growing up, you only know what you're exposed to.
Yeah.
You know, and I had a dad who went to Vietnam when he was 18. There was no language of the heart, really, you know, to speak of. And so I wasn't modeled for me, like asking for help or sharing about struggles. So, and that's through no fault of his, because he wasn't exposed to it either, you know, but it's changing now. But like, that's why I sort of didn't know, because it was like, oh, it's an in-house job. I got this was like the mantra. It's okay. I got this, you know, and it's like, turns out I didn't have this. And I had a therapist who gave me a great line. He said, tell the truth and tell it faster. And I love that, right? Because it's like, that applies to everything, whether it's like, I'm struggling or like, hey, what you're doing is not okay with me. But it's like, I had such a hard time telling my truth in the past, because it would be like, is this going to upset them? Is it going to rock the boat? Okay, I'll hedge it. I'll only say half of it, but I'll make it a joke.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, no, dude, just tell the truth and tell it faster.
Yeah. We spend a lot of time performing just for that, to keep the peace or to protect our egos. And we're worried about feeling insecure or being seen in a certain way or being misunderstood from what our heart actually is. And it's to feel like you're constantly performing that way, but then how can I ever actually grow if I'm not just being honest and saying the truth and saying it faster? Even if the truth is ugly, hopefully there's good enough friends around to go, ooh, that was ugly. And then you can deal with it and grow. But if you're never exposing those parts of yourself and you don't ever have safe people around to do that with, then how are you actually supposed to grow?
And if you are constantly curating other people's experience of you, you are never giving anyone else a chance to actually know you.
Yeah. And then you feel lonely and unseen.
For sure. Yeah. Okay, listener question.
Okay. I hope everybody out there can get something out of that. I certainly did.
Yeah.
I feel like I can relate to that a lot. It's that's a constant journey.
It's like, oh, you only gave us a 15-minute long episode. Well, let us talk about trauma and healing.
Hey.
That we can do for hours.
That we can do.
Sort of our brand around here.
Spin a wheel, folks.
Oh my gosh. Most likely to spend hours curating the perfect Instagram post. Was the wheel just listening to our conversation?
Oy.
I will say that I spend way more time trying to put together like a dumb reel, like just something that I think is funny. Like when my dogs opened up fertilizer all over my couch and then I had to deal with cleaning that up. And I was like, oh my God, this is funny. And so I took some videos, but I am so not tech savvy with this stuff. And so it takes way too long. I find myself, I don't know about hours, but way longer than I wanted to spend, because usually I'll get halfway through and then hit a button and the whole thing disappears and I have to start all over again. And it makes me insane.
Yeah.
That's why I really don't post a lot of those things, because it takes too long. My brain can't handle it.
I feel that way too. And it's weird because it feels like such a chore. But then I also realize like there'll be 100 things that could be interesting to share. And of those, I shared maybe 2. I just don't have the energy for it. I don't know. I sometimes I wish I was better at it, because I'm like, if only the things that feel like the most important, like make it out there.
I know. I'd rather just call a friend to come over and enjoy the weird moment with me.
Yeah, I don't know.
Do I really need to upload it for people I don't know?
It's like, it's not the first place my brain goes. But then people that are really good at it, I'm so amazed by. I'm like, how did you do that? Look at this thing that you made. How lovely. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not that skilled.
I will overthink it, but I will get through the photo portion. Like, I don't really mess with filters, but I will spend way too much time working with like the nuance of the caption and being like, this word's too long. Okay, this word could be funnier.
That's the comedian in you.
Because you're working the joke.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But it's like, I will spend, I'll save it as a draft, wake up next morning and be like, no, it should have been which.
I love that. No, it's a creative outlet though. That makes total sense for the comedian that you are. And it's real work. Like, do you remember when Barbara was on the show and she said that she dated Jerry Seinfeld and she was saying that he was very serious about the business of being funny? I think that was her quote. He was very serious about being funny. And I don't know why that keeps coming up to me in random moments, but I think that's part of it for you, Rob, isn't it? Like, you're serious about being funny. You're good at it and you want it to work. So of course you're it's a creative outlet.
Yeah. Yeah. And it matters to me.
That tracks.
It's like if it's a photo and I'm not as worried of like, do I look handsome as much as like if it's a caption is like, did I land the plane? Is it as funny as it could have been? Then I care.
Is there a character who would be spending hours on social media trying to curate the perfect post? Like I'd say Alex, but I also feel like Alex would just be like, whatever. And she'd just literally post anything.
She's too fast and loose, I think, to spend hours doing it. I mean, I would say Mouth because he has that kind of time right now.
He does. Wow.
And he's also
That's a deep cut.
He's hip with like, he was like the first person to ever have a podcast that I knew of.
Yeah.
So I could see him being savvy with it. And
he's always inventing himself, reinventing himself with different, so he's got like this push to get something out there. Okay. Yeah. I'll remember that.
Mouth.
I like that.
Although I do love the idea of Dan sitting in some dingy garage somewhere, obsessing over like the right picture and the right filter for his post.
By the way, Dan Scott definitely has a troll account.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah. He's an absolute anonymous nightmare on the internet.
How has nobody created a Dan Scott trolling account just to start trolling all of us?
Come
on.
Gosh. That would be so freaking fun. That's a great call.
You should do it.
I think Paul should do it. Because Paul's good at being cutting. Paul's funny. He has a great fastball.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
Bummer.
Next episode, season 8, episode 19, Where Not to Look for Freedom. Something tells me it's Puerto Rico.
Oh, that means we got Cherry coming up. One of Clay's new best friends he makes.
Cherry?
You're going to have to tune in to see.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Is it a stripper? Is it something else? You just got to watch, Joy.
I don't know. Okay, well, thanks for hanging out with us on this extra special short content episode.
Bottle episode, baby.
Flashback day.
Flashback day.
See you next week.
Bye. Hey, thanks for listening.
Don't forget to leave us a review. You can also follow us on Instagram at DramaQueensOTH.
Or email us at dramaqueens@iHeartRadio.com. See you next time.
We're all about that high school drama girl, all about them high school queens. We'll take you for a ride in our comic girl, cheering for the right team. Drama queens, smart girl, rough girl, fashion but you're tough girl. You could sit with us, girl. Drama queens, drama queens, drama queens, drama queens, drama queens.